Well, now to paint an Imperial Fist. Come on then. Hey, welcome in. I'm just going to be using my Infinity Gyrodaz with the smallest needle. And I'm just going to be base coating the model in this corn red. I'll mostly be trying to get it in the shadows on his armour, but spraying it from a zenithal perspective on his cloak. Okay, I'm just going to be doing the same as backpack and helmet. I'm just going to be using this Morfang Brown, and I'll be spraying this from a zenithal perspective. Taking my time in using the 3D aspect of the model to my advantage. I will also be trying to get some of this onto his cloak as well, just to add some different levels of highlights, just as a foundation for some of the shadows as well. Okay, I'm just gonna not be cleaning out my well in my airbrush, and just adding a couple of drops of white to the Morfang Brown that's left in there. And I'll be using this as a zenithal highlight for the armour, and try not to cover up all the Morfang Brown that I've already put on. And just doing the same for the backpack and helmet. Okay, and I'm just going to be using the pure white to add the highlights at the top. And this will really help the yellow show through. But yeah, make sure not to ruin all your shadows that you've created with your previous layers. And yeah, just do the same as backpack and helmet. Just giving it a look over and make sure you're happy. Okay, I'm going to be using the contrast paint Imperial Fist. I've never painted yellow before, and this was an absolute pleasure, to be fair. I definitely recommend using the Imperial Fist for an airbrush over the types of layers built up with the red and brown, because yeah, it's really come through. I was really surprised at how nice it came out. So yeah, really nice one to use, definitely recommend. And just doing the same with his backpack and helmet. But yeah, you can just see how much that yellow pops through those different layers. I think the white zenithal on top definitely helps it come through. And yeah, it just pulls all the different shades together nicely. And I'm just going to be doing the first layers of his cloak with the Mephiston red. Again, spraying from a zenithal perspective and using the 3D aspect of the model to my advantage. Just trying to hit the most raised parts and leave the shadows, or like all the creases in the shadows. And yeah, just being very careful, trying not to get it onto the armour. Although I will let it overspray purposefully onto the armour in some parts where the cape's very near to the armour. Just it helps sell the metallic reflection of it. I was going to do the helmet yellow, but then I thought actually it would look really cool if the helmet was red. And just do the front cloth as well. Again, trying my best just to get it mainly onto the cloth, but at the same time letting it overspray slightly onto the armour, just to give it the appearance of reflection. Okay, we're just moving up to the Evil Sun's Scarlet now. Again, just hitting smaller areas, spraying from the top, trying to hit the most raised pieces, and just really getting this cape to pop now. And yeah, just doing the same for his helmet. Trying my best not to cover up previous layers and just add an extra bit of pop to it. And I'm just going to be using this Avalon Sunset just on his lower parts, or where I think the reflection's a bit too much from the cape, and just taming them down a little bit. Just so it actually looks more like reflections and less like mistake. I'm just checking the model over to make sure I'm happy with everything, giving it a touch up if it needs a bit extra. But yeah, it's taking time and aiming carefully. And yeah, just adding a bit from the bottom just to give it a bit of reflection on the bottom of his helmet, so the yellow's popping up so you can see it's reflective as well. And I'm going to be using this to spray into the shadows. This is a really nice shadow colour for red on your cloaks. Sort of blends it really nice, and yeah, it makes it really rich looking. So yeah, it's a nice colour, this one, to use over red. Like I say, try not to hit the raised parts and just spray it into the creases in the shadow areas. And yeah, just taming down the reflection a little bit on his helmet. Okay, I'm going to be doing his head plume with this white. I just thought it looks really cool because, I don't know, in 40k you usually get the red helmets with the white stripe down the middle, and I figured the plume would be cool to be white, or like to sort of mimic the stripe, possibly where it may have come from. But yeah, it's nice to experiment. Originally the head was going to be yellow with a red plume, and then yeah, just as I was painting, decided actually red head and white plume would be cool. I'm just using my 00 Winsor Newton Series 7 brush, and I'm just going to be doing some of the black details on the inside collar with this one. Okay, moving over to the Black Legion contrast. I'm just going to be doing all of his wires in black pieces. I probably should have just used this on the inside of his collar over the Abaddon black, but I just wanted a little bit more control. Like, this paint's a little bit more loose. I just didn't want it to spill into all of the crevices if I push too hard. Whereas I want the opposite on this, I want the crevices filled in. Yeah, just doing the same thing on his backpack. And yeah, I think black against the yellow is really nice. It can be a bit of a boring step, but just take your time and enjoy it. Cool, I'm just be going over all the silver pieces with a lead belcher using my medium Citadel airbrush. So yeah, I'll be going over all of his trim, bobbles on his shoulder, the gun, and some of the sword pieces. Yeah, he's got quite a bit of silver bits on him, so just take your time and enjoy the process. And yeah, really try hard not to get it onto any of the yellow pieces, as I imagine trying to blend the yellow back over will be really difficult. And when you're doing really detailed pieces like this, try and get the brush as flat as possible, and sort of, I don't know, guarantees you not to accidentally get paint where you don't want it. Especially for metallics, because trying to get rid of a metallic mistake is really difficult. Some people like to block in the gun black before putting a metallic over it, but I think it looks really cool when you just put the metallic over the colour that's already there, as it gives a bit of the reflection of the armour. And also by the time you've put the metallic paint on, gone back over it with a shade, say Noon Oil, and then touched it back up again, all the underneath colour's completely gone anyway, so I feel like it's a bit of a wasted step, but feel free to do that if you like. Yeah, try and keep a really steady hand going over the trim on his cloak. Yeah, just patience, no rushing, just enjoy it. Okay, and then just going over all the silver pieces of the Noon Oil. Again, just adding some depth back into it. I'll be doing it on the red parts on this backpack, but I won't be putting this over the cloak. So you can see already that any of the colour underneath is already disappearing. So yeah, nice, and like I said, the colours that are left are just like armour reflection, as it would. I know I said I won't be putting this on the cloak, and what I mean, I won't be like completely coating the cloak in it. I'll just be going over the silver parts, and basically, if you try and load the brush with enough on, so as you just draw over the silver bit, it like pours into the sides. I guess you could do this with like a pin wash or some sort of oil wash, but I just prefer using Citadel stuff. But yeah, looking good. I'm just going to be using this Apothecary White to go over his white plume. Just adding some shadow and texture back into it. And yeah, it's really nice to use over white, and especially on something textured like this. And I'll be using this Noon Oil whilst the Apothecary White's still wet, and trying to get it to like tie-dye into it, just to create a bit more of an interesting shadow. And yeah, I'm just taking a bit more time with this because I feel like it's quite a nice feature of the model and something that people will be looking at. But yeah, you can see how it's like bleeding together. Okay, I'm just going to be using these colours for his sword. Unfortunately, the footage for that was corrupted, so I just got this random sword just to show you the technique. So basically just base painting it with the darkest blue. Then moving up to the next lightest blue, trying to catch the edges and starting to add texture and scratches to it. I am still using wet paint, so this is not a dry brush. But yeah, it's just leaving marks and textures. As you can see, I'm just slowly building up the layers with that colour. Moving on to the next stages of my 00 Winsor Newton. The lightest blue, and I'm just going to be very carefully painting inside of the previous layers and try my best not to cover up the layers I've already done. So yeah, just painting inside very carefully. Yeah, I think this is a nice way to do power weapons. I'm not really keen on the traditional way, so it's sort of made up this way, and I think it's a really cool result. It looks like electric's like coursing through it, so I think it does represent a power weapon pretty well. And then yeah, just the final white, just tiny dots here and there. Again, try not to cover up the previous layers and add sparingly. It gives it a really nice effect. As you can see, the blades like really pop in and come into life. So yeah, I think this is a cool way to do power weapons. And then here's his actual sword. So yeah, again, apologies for not capturing that one, but I tried to make up for it. And just using the Caraba Crimson to add shadows back into his helmet. He was looking a bit flat, so I thought I'd give it a wash of that. And then I'm just going to be stepping the colours back up, adding textures and layers and highlights to him. Again, I feel like the helmet's a piece that people will look at, so it's worth taking your time and making sure it's cool. And moving up to the highest highlight. And yeah, trying not to cover up the previous layer and just texture and add it in. Just give it a bit more pop. And these are the colours I'll be using for his eyes. So the darkest one first, followed by the next lightest, and then finally the dot of white in the middle, just to really make it pop and glow. Just take your time and be patient. But yeah, looking cool. I decided the helmet needed a bit more, just a little bit more pop to it. So yeah, just going to pick out a couple of raised bits and add a little bit more texture. Cool, just double checking it and glue them all together. Just have a look around and make sure you're happy with anything, or if anything needs doing again, or any corrections need to be made, or you want to add some extra highlights somewhere. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I noticed I hadn't done his skulls. I'm just going to be putting the ivory onto the skulls. And I'm just going to be adding extra sheen to the silver bits. Yeah, just catching the edges and just, giving it more depth and making it pop and look cool. It's always nice to take your time with a character model and make it the best you can. But yeah, adding some more texture and scratches to it just makes it look a lot cooler and more interesting. And I noticed some of the yellow overspray onto his cape, so I'm just tidying that up now. I feel like cloth is an absorbent material, like it absorbs light, so it wouldn't reflect as much as the armour. So yeah, just doing a little bit of correction and double checking him, make sure I'm happy. Just adding the PVA glue to his base. And give it a nice smooth around. Try and get a little bit onto his feet and bottom of his cloak just to incorporate the basing material to him, so he just looks more part of the scene. I'm going to be using a brown basing material, and I think I really like the brown for this model. It would be really nice against the red and the yellow. It won't clash with it and complement it nicely. It's quite a nice neutral colour. And I'm just going to be going around the base with the Black Legion. And then yeah, that will help frame the model more and help it stand out. So yeah, looking cool. And just remembered the skulls, so just add some contrast to those, and then once that's dried, just pop in some highlights on the most raised parts. Okay, I'm going to be putting this decal on him, on his shoulder pad, and I'll be using the microset and microsole. So I'm just adding the microset and putting a bit extra just on his shoulder pad just to help the transition. But yeah, take your time and have patience. But yeah, it'll look cool in the end. And then yeah, just smooth the edges out, make sure it's in a position you want it. And then just going to be putting the microsole on it. I find this helps shrink wrap the decal or decal to the shoulder pad. And then I'm just going to be putting that lame medium over it just to help get rid of the shine.
Like, comment, subscribe, share.